Welcome back. It is now week 3. Is that right? No, we're in week
I
4.
know. It's
Week
rolling,
4 of
rolling.
our Pick'em. This might be week 3 of our Pick'em show.
Yeah, pick 'em show.
If you're wondering what our Pick'em show is, welcome to 12 Men and 40 Acres. It is our weekly Pick'em show
Great name.
where we go through each game that Barrett's laid out for our firm. So if this is your first time seeing it, it's just because this is the first time we've seen it outside of our internal Cedarwood Financial Partners. Shout out Walls. But we're excited. I'm your host, Dylan Ripley, joined by
Barrett Yvonne.
and we're going to go through 10 games this week at the college and the NFL level. And then as we post these on socials, we've got a lot of connections here locally. So we're going to actually include a couple of high school games at the end for that. So without further ado, Barrett, let's jump right into our first matchup. It is Texas Tech, Utah. That'll kick us off Saturday. Really big game, 11 a.m. What do you got?
This is a huge one, and I like, I've listened to some multiple podcasts talk about this week is a week where there's not any games that jump off the paper, but all these games are so sneaky important in the long-term phase of the season, and this is one of them. This has huge Big 12 implications, bigger than they probably know. It's going to be the Fox NFL, the Fox NFL, Fox College Game of the Week. They're there. It's going to be a lot of excitement, one of the better quarterback matchups you're going to see all year. You got Baron Morton for the Red Raiders, Devin Dampier, sneaky great quarterback at Utah. And so, like I said, huge implications in the Big 12. I don't think we know what Texas Tech is yet because of the cupcakes on their schedule, and that's a common theme. I'm not saying that's unusual, but I don't want to make any jump predictions on Tech without seeing them against a bigger or better team or a conference team. And so in this one, because Utah has two NFL offensive tackles and the play of Devin Dampier, who I think is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, I'm going to take Utah to beat Texas Tech and get a leg up in the Big 12 race. Their offense is very, very unique. Devin Dampier is a playmaker. Those two offensive tackles are going to hold down Texas Tech's pass rush. Give me Utah to start the Big 12 race.
Okay. Yeah, I think Devin Dampier is a really good. I actually just pulled this up so I can have a few numbers here. And the first thing is, will he throw his first interception this week? To be determined. And as Bear mentioned, a lot of cupcakes on the schedule so far for both of these. I saw an interesting stat though that this just speaks to what Texas Tech has done. But their two defensive ends are leading the country in quarterback pressures. They're in the backfield the most on the most percentage of snaps in under 2 seconds. So I thought that's pretty impressive. Now, haven't played anybody as we mentioned, so we'll find out this week what that looks like versus a formidable Big 12 foe now. But if we look at the talent too, they're loaded. I mean, we all know it. They paid for a roster. I love Joey McGuire. I've been a fan of his since he was at Cedar Hill. It's hard not to like. He builds a strong culture. I know Barrett has other things to say about some comments that about how the Big 12 runs through Lubbock, but
Yep.
this is his chance to prove that right now. Now he's got his culture, he's got his style, and now he's got money. And so I think that Texas Tech will take this one and I'm going a buddy of mine, shout out Chad, says that Utah is fraudulent, and so I'm taking his word. He never lies. So give me Texas Tech.
Well, I will say, and here's one note I want to make. I know about the defensive ends, but they haven't played anyone. Spencer Fano is a guy everyone's going to want to draft in April. He's probably the best left tackle in the country playing for Utah, so keep that name, especially if you're a Texans or a Cowboys fan and you're going to have a high draft pick. All right, moving
Hey,
on to our
we'll
second
talk about that
game
later.
of the day. Auburn at Oklahoma, a little early SEC matchup. Going to be a lot of narratives in this game. Should be a great one. Who you got?
Yeah, we know who you have based on prior episodes of this, but I firmly believe Mateer is the real deal. I was really impressed with what he's done. Well, what he did at Wazoo when he was there, given the difference in talent. Now what he's doing with some weapons around him, I think he's easily the front runner for the Heisman this far. A lot can change. A lot of season to go. I do think this is going to be a great game. Both of these teams have struggled. They've gone through coaching changes and they have not gotten back to where they were prior to those coaching changes to that elite level. So they're both looking for a rebirth. They're both playing really well. Auburn's got their signature win versus Baylor that I think will actually, air quoted, but I think that'll be a signature win by the end of the season. And then obviously Oklahoma's got it versus Michigan in that game. In this one, I'm going OU. I think their defense is going to answer the call, and they're going to win this game by forcing their reject Jackson Arnold to actually throw the ball. They know he's not the best at that, so I think they're gonna answer the call, force him to throw the ball, and that's going to be the difference in this ball game. So give me OU.
All right. Well, you kind of set me up. I know that the bias, like I've said in this show previous times, it's very hard for me to take OU, but I think this will be the Jackson Arnold revenge game. I think that's going to be a big narrative. I think the narrative all day will be the quarterbacks. You're going to hear a lot of love from Mateer. It's going to be Mateer, Mateer, Mateer. I feel like it's all over. The hype is growing. Probably rightfully so, given the style that he plays and the excitement he plays with. He does have that passion. I still don't know if we've seen, he made a couple throws in the Michigan game. I give him that, but he also had some
Couple.
moments yeah, a couple. And he also had some
Big
moments
ones.
in the Michigan game where he looked under pressure, he forced throws, and I think that's going to be a theme throughout this season. He's going to take chances, and those chances will pay off sometimes. But again, I want to see more performances against top tier defenses. Auburn's secondary is a little shaky, but that front seven's really, really good. And my question here is, can the Oklahoma offensive line hold up and keep Mateer clean? If they can, Oklahoma has a shot at home. But I think we're gonna look up, and this is gonna be the Jackson Arnold revenge game. That is gonna be the storyline that stills the Mateer hype. It'll be close, don't get me wrong. 6.5 point spread. If it doesn't push over 7 before Saturday, I think the market's telling you it's gonna be a close game. Could come down to a final drive. And so I think one of those quarterbacks will have a chance in the fourth quarter to cement this as their game. I'm going to go Jackson Arnold revenge game as the narrative. So give me Auburn.
Okay. Well, if you're relying on that Auburn D to stop OU when it matters, good luck. Baylor put the blueprint there. All right, next game we've got Michigan, Nebraska. That is going to be held in Nebraska. So who you got?
At home, Nebraska, and here's the key. Matt Rule's third year. He's done it at Temple. He's done it at Baylor. If you look up in that into the second, early third year in Matt Rule's career, this just feels like a game he would win. And I've gone back and forth. 2 weeks ago, at the end of week 2, I probably would have circled Nebraska and said this is a Nebraska spot. I'll tell you what made me the most nervous to keep that pick. The interim coach Poggi for Michigan unlocked Bryce Underwood's legs last week, which is something that was not done in the Oklahoma game. It was almost like their actual head coach didn't trust him enough to make plays. But last week we saw a different offense, and I don't know if that's because the coach wasn't in the room. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that the interim coach will be coaching this Nebraska game. So that does scare me if they let Bryce use his legs. However, Dylan Raiola has played so well to start the season. The black shirt defense has shown up. I get a little hesitance because they didn't play super well against Cincinnati late. Um, but I'm going to give the edge to Dylan Raiola at home. I think this could be a little breakout game for him. And again, Matt Rule, third year, this just feels like a game to me he's going to win. So I'm going to take Nebraska.
Okay. This didn't work well last week. It did not end well. I went on record. I changed my pick on this show. And I'm going to do it again here. So huge game. Bryce needs a staple win, but so does Dylan Raiola. I don't think, Colorado's going to count as a staple win for the young man. I know it's somewhat of a rivalry, but that was not a great Colorado team that he ended up beating. The line was already close. It's moving closer. As you mentioned, Raiola has been extremely steady. He's been good. He's got weapons around him. The defense really does look good. So I am switching on air again from Michigan to Nebraska. Give me Will Compton's boys at home.
Let's ride together. I like it. All right. If that gets your mouth wet for the Big Ten, this is the showdown that everyone's going to be waiting for this week in the Big Ten. Illinois versus Indiana, a sneaky good Big Ten staple game. I heard somebody say earlier in the week that it's nice to have a Big Ten game that doesn't involve Oregon, Penn State, or Ohio State be this big. Like there's a lot of implications around it. We've got rankings on both teams, and it doesn't have one of those poster children Big Ten teams. So that's kind of fresh and nice. So who do you got, Illinois versus Indiana?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. This is going to be do we call them blue bloods of the Big Ten? They're really not, but they're blue collar. Blue collar. We're going to call them blue collar of the Big Ten. So really fun matchup. I'm excited about it. Gosh, Illinois being at 9 is just still crazy to see that, but they've earned that recognition, as has Indiana to be where they are. I I think last year's experience and what they want to do this year by sending a message that they were not fraudulent, although many can argue that that playoff game proved that it was rough. I think they're out to send a message. They're at home. Both are extremely similar. As I was kind of scrolling through the numbers here, I mean, quarterback stats are almost the same. Running back stats are the same. Receive. I mean, they're all within 5-10 yards, which is mind-boggling when you really look at it and you break down each of the categories. Um, and so with that, and neither of them have really been tested. You can't call, Illinois can't call Duke a big test right now. So give me Indiana at home. I think this is going to be another one that comes down to that who has the ball last. That's going to be who wins the game.
All right, so you're taking Indiana.
I
This
am.
is
Big
a
fan there.
don't want to tip my hat to my second favorite love, but this is a beautiful basketball matchup, Illinois and Indiana. I would love to see it on a hardwood floor. It's a tough game. It's a tough one to pick, and I'm going back to my betting roots here. The line movement has been kind of crazy. You would
Yeah.
think, given everything that's been talked about with Illinois and Bielema's physicality, that it would move in Illinois' favor, but it opened at 4.5 and it's moving in the wrong direction for Illinois. It's actually going to 5.5 and 6 in some places. So to me, that
Six and a
tells you
half now.
6.5. So that
Yep.
tells you sharp bettors are all on Indiana, which is kind of crazy. I thought this matchup would be closer. So because of that line movement, it makes me lean to Indiana. I think this is a chance for Indiana to silence the critics like you talked about from last year. Can they beat good opponents? Because they didn't do it last year much. So I think this would be a statement game. It's a great coaching matchup. Two of the better coaches
Agreed.
in the Big Ten, and it's even a better quarterback matchup. Altemeyer versus Fernando Mendoza. I think this is Altemeyer's had his moments. I think this is a moment for Fernando Mendoza to put himself on the map to say I'm one of the better quarterbacks in the country. NFL scouts know it. You'll be shocked when we roll around to April how many people are talking about him from an NFL market standpoint, but he hasn't got much college love because of the big names that came into the year. And so I think this vaults him up. I could see it being close, but like I said, the line movement scares me, and maybe Indiana just plays a really good fourth quarter. I'm going to take Indiana because of that line movement, because they're at home, because they've got Fernando Mendoza, and I'm going to give it to the Hoosiers.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to our next game. I think this is our
Arizona
last.
State,
Nope, we
Baylor.
got two more. Yep, we got two more here in the college range. We got Arizona State and Baylor. This one will be played in Waco, primetime game, 6:30 p.m. slot. Which way you leaning here?
Again, another great Big 12. The Big 12 and the Big 10 are going to have a lot of movement this week as
Yeah,
far as kind of
huge
setting the
matchups.
stage of who's going to make a run. So this is another sneaky big game in the Big 12. This line scares me to death because it opened at 2.5. And I just don't like with Baylor being at home, and that's they're begging you to take them at 3. So my brain says take Arizona State. But here's the problem. I've made two statements early on in the year that I have to stand by. One of those statements was I took Baylor in the Big 12 to play in the Big 12 title game. I think they're one of the two better teams, or I said they were going to be one of the two better teams in the Big 12. So I've got to stick there. And I said Arizona State would come into the season overrated with all their losses and as much love as they got late in the year last year. And I think they showed that against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So if I go with those two leans that I made, my one concern going into this week now is Aranda's eyes on UCLA. That makes me nervous. I don't think he's the type of person that would put his eyes there, but the rumors are there, and anytime there's smoke, there's fire. So that makes me nervous. And then, of course, that line not moving in the right direction makes me nervous. But I have to stick to my prediction. I love Baylor's offense. I think Sawyer Robertson will score points, but could Jordan Tyson also score points on the other side at receivers? So it could be a shootout. Might take the over, but give me Baylor at home.
Yeah, real quick before we move on, do you think Aranda for the people? Do you think he takes that job? Do you think he leaves Baylor after the season? It's a better question.
There's going to be a crazy number of openings. It would not shock me if Aranda left Baylor this year.
Yeah. I don't think UCLA is the market personally. I agree. I think he likely does leave, but a guy who flies under the radar going into LA of all places, I don't see it. So, yeah, this one a few weeks ago looked better than what it did now, just because we've gotten to see a little bit more about Arizona State. I agree. I think that the offense is not near as what is advertised. Mississippi State played a great ball game. Don't get me wrong. I think they're gonna obviously turn a few more heads than what we thought coming into the season. But Arizona State lost that game, point blank. I mean, you leave the guy, you let the guy bust the big one right there to seal it. So. And then Sawyer's on a Heisman campaign. They've got some Franklin Love with the running back. Waco's going to be rocking. I think the boys are they're playing well. coming off a big win versus SMU. I think they've got a lot of things going. Offense is going to score points. Aranda's going to have the defense figured out. So give me Baylor, and I'll even give up the points in this one there because I think that I think they'll win by 2 possessions.
Oh, that's a bold take. I like it. Let's write that down as a bold take. I hope we can clip that. I hope we clip. All right, a rivalry game. This will be a fun one. Maybe Florida at Miami. This is a big rivalry historically. What the media is portraying this week. Let's see if we agree with where they're headed. Who do you got, Florida versus Miami?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a close game because it is a rivalry game, but I am going to pick against Florida until they give me a reason not to. And really, that reason is they fire Napier because it is air apparent that guy is not the guy. Because you cannot have your quarterback turn the ball over 5 times and not and keep that game close and not find a way to figure something better out. 5 turnovers is not just on him. I know he had his struggles and it happens, right? Your team's going through it right now. Good quarterback struggle. It's just part of the game, but Napier is not the guy. Lagway's struggling. Beck is in a really good scheme. I think that the scheme that Miami's got with him at quarterback, huge. They're rolling. And as an Aggie that's beat Notre Dame, I need them to keep rolling because if they lose, then that makes the Notre Dame win not look as good. So many reasons there, but I do think that Miami's just going to be the better team. They're going to come in fired up off of some good momentum they got. So we'll give it Miami.
Yeah. Again, I've said this before, and if this was a spread show, if we were giving you gambling lines, I'd be all over Florida. I'd be hammering Florida right now with a 7.5 point spread. I'd 100% take Florida. This game is one of those games where you follow the narratives, and this is how I view sports sometimes. The narratives right now are telling you, fire Billy, even the Florida side, fire Billy, fire Billy, fire Billy. What are you hearing from the Miami side? We're the number 1 team in the country. A lot of people are saying they're the number 1 team in the country. Beck for Heisman. You can just see 2 very conflicting narratives. What happens historically when you have those 2 conflicting narratives meet on a field? It's going to be way closer than you think. I said it last week that Florida would have a chance in the 4th quarter against LSU. They really did. I mean, Lagway threw 5 interceptions and you lose by 10. So it wasn't like that game was a blowout like a lot of people predicted. I would love to take Florida as an overall upset on money line, but I don't think it's going to happen. I could see Miami having to score late to win. They're at home. There's just a lot of things playing against them. But again, you'd be naive to say these kids aren't going to come out and play for Napier, that the coaches know that their staff is gone if they don't win. A lot of people are saying he won't make it out of Miami if he can't win this one. So again, I'm following the narratives here and saying that I think it's going to be close because I think the narratives are too conflicting, and I think we'll have a good football game to watch, and we'll be surprised when we turn on the 4th quarter. But I could see this being 23-20. Miami sneaks out a win to stay in the top 5. So give me Miami straight up, but I'm telling you, watch the sneaky line.
Okay, moving into the NFL now. We've got the Cowboys and the Bears. The first time you put the Cowboys on our pickup. So, what are we thinking on?
I try not to show bias, and so I don't put the Cowboys on the pick 'em every week because I just haven't felt like the games have been big. But this one just seems like 2 teams that are very similar, and I thought this line is super close right now.
Okay.
So I thought it would be a good game for the pick sheet. We have a lot of Cedarwood employees up north, so even some Bears fans. So to have them on the pick sheet, I thought this was just a good game for our firm. It's going to be a shootout, I think, if we know anything based on how the game went last week with the Giants. Our secondary, and I'm going to say our, as a Cowboys fan, gives me fits. The question is, can Caleb capitalize on that? I love what I've seen from Javonte Williams in our run game, so I feel like the Cowboys are going to score, but I could also see this as a game where Ben Johnson kind of flexes his offensive muscle, and they score a little bit too, so I might take the over. I just don't. It's kind of like what you said with Florida. I want to see the Bears prove it before I take them, so I'm going to go homer here and take the Cowboys to win and get to 2-1 because I just feel like they're a 2-2 football team, and I don't think they're beating the Packers next week. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So I'm going to go and kind of bet on the numbers here and say they'll be 2-2 after week 4, and this will have to be a game for them to win to get there. So Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and let's say the Cowboys sneak out of there with a win.
Yeah, I think so. I put another epic shootout just like what we saw last week. I don't think Chicago's very good defensively, so that's why we're going to see a lot of points. And then I'm on record, I don't trust Caleb Williams at all. So I think after this week, he changes his nail color to navy and silver. Give me the Cowboys.
All right. Next NFL game, the second Texas team, the Houston Texans, go on the road at Jacksonville in a divisional matchup. And who you got, the Texans or Jaguars?
Yeah, I was pulling it up just because I wanted to confirm what I feel like I knew based on watching the Tampa Bay game, but I'm going Jaguars here. I'll cut straight to the chase. I don't really trust either one of these yet. Trevor Lawrence has thrown quite a few interceptions, so he's obviously a turnover machine, but he's also scored a lot. I really did. I flipped a coin on this, and so I went Jags. But as I pulled this up, the Texans' offense is no good, and so they have no identity right now, and you're going into Jacksonville, and I know the spread is pretty darn close, basically a coin flip there too. But I just kind of this is the theme we've got. But Houston's gonna have to prove me wrong here, and C.J. Stroud looks like he's really not all the way there at leading this offense and putting up points. So give me Jacksonville.
I like it. I like it. Toughest game on the slate for me from a prediction standpoint. And I think the spread and just the overall nature of this game shows that 1.5 point spread, divisional game. The reason it's been such a tough call for me is I can't see the Texans going 0-3. A lot of people pick them to win the South. So if I pick the Jaguars, that means I'm saying the Texans are going to go 0-3. I didn't love the body language I saw from the Jacksonville Jaguars last week late. Lawrence and Cohen kind of getting to it on the sideline. I know that's a coach-player thing. That happens sometimes. I'm very uninspired by this Texans offense, though. Their offensive line is atrocious. I took them this week to bounce back against the Buccaneers, and they had it. I mean, that was a pick I felt like I was on the right side of, but
Until you weren't.
until I wasn't. Until I wasn't. Thank you, Baker. So again, toughest game on the slate. I am going to take the Jaguars because the offensive line for the Texans are so bad. I could see them scoring in the low teens to maybe 17. And I think eventually, the Jaguars have played well offensively, and BTJ and Hunter haven't even done anything yet. So eventually, you have to imagine Cohen's going to get those two guys the ball, and this could be the game that happens. So I'm going to just take the Jaguars at home. I know that puts the Texans at 0-3, but maybe it's a wake up call, and they're going to have to get some things fixed on that offensive line. Maybe they should draft Spencer Fano for Utah. Just saying. All right, third game on our NFL slate. Another divisional matchup: Broncos and Chargers. This should be an interesting one with all the Chargers love lately. Who you got?
You know, I did go back and forth. I'm an emotional picker with this pick 'em. I try to just kind of put it down, and I coin flipped the Texas Jaguars, and I went back and forth here because the Broncos are obviously a much better team than 1-1. I think these two quarterbacks are good. But I ended up going with the Chargers. I think that they're having a really strong start to the season. You obviously beat your defending conference champions and two-time champions there in Kansas City. But Justin Herbert, I mean, I pulled his stats up, 44 of 61 for 5 touchdowns. Bo Nix is not doing too bad. I mean, he's 47 of 70, so not as good completion percentage, but I do worry a little bit. Hampton's their leading rusher at 72 yards, as you can kind of see there. So worry a little bit about, is that sustainable? So that this could be the game where it's not. But man, is Quentin Johnson, the local kid, playing some football?
Finally.
And he
Yeah,
is
they've been
finally
asking for it.
he is finally playing like the first round pick that they scooped up. So give me the Chargers in this one.
Okay. I like it. Well, finally, I felt like this was getting to be kind of a boring show. We were on the same side in a lot of these games.
Let's go.
If I could not take someone to take the under, I would definitely take the under in this game. I think this has under written all over it. Broncos coming off a huge emotional loss, which I'm still super PO'd about. A leverage call. That was great. So a tough game. But I think Herbert and the offense, for as much love as they're getting, looked not so good in the second half against LA. Against Las Vegas. I almost said Oakland. And it really slowed them down in the second half. Now they're coming back home. Short week, late Monday night game. And you've got Sean Payton bringing the Broncos, who have a stellar defense. Knicks threw 4 touchdowns last week. I think they keep rolling. So I'm actually going to take the Broncos because, this is an NFL thing, but to me, it just makes sense for both of these teams to be 2-1 after 3 weeks. I think there's got to be some overcorrection with the Chargers. So I'm going to say the Chargers slow down a little bit. We see a decent game out of the Broncos. Take the under if you can, but I'm going to say the Broncos sneak out and leave the Chargers 2-1.
Okay,
We got to
there
keep
we
it open
go.
for
I'm
the
about to
Chiefs.
say we got to keep the show entertaining too. That's what we're doing. All right, our final game for the 10 game pick'em is Detroit versus Baltimore. That game is in Baltimore. It's going to be the primetime 7:15 game. Who you going with?
All right. This is one where I got to zag. This is a perfect zag spot for me. Everyone all week is going to be on the Ravens. I think that rightfully so. I think that everyone on our pick sheet will be on. I think everyone on ESPN will be on them. It's one of those games where I could see everyone on the board picking the Ravens because it seems like a Ravens spot at home. The run game's good. That's all we've heard about. This Lions team is extremely competent. We saw them
And
this week
talented.
put together an incredible game both on the offensive and the defensive side. So this is one of those games where I think that all the love's on the Ravens, but the Lions aren't going to roll over. Again, this is professional football. They have a very talented team. They have a very good coaching staff. And so I'm going to take the Lions in a zag spot just because of the narrative to go in and beat the Ravens. I won't be shocked either way. This is, I think, more of a pick'em game than people are giving it credit for. I could see the Ravens getting bet really high, and they could see the spread even going further, and maybe they do. Maybe they win it. But they've shown instances in these type of games to let the other team hold on a little too long. They've already done it once this year with the Bills. So I think they leave the door open, and then the question will be, can Lamar slam the door or do the Lions creep back in? I can see either one of those things happening. The Ravens play so well at home. They play so well in primetime games, so it won't shock me. But I'm going to just zag from everyone else and take the Lions.
Okay. Yeah, it's very rare for me to pick against Dan Campbell, but I am on the Ravens side of this. I think that Jared Goff is a great quarterback. His numbers look really good this season, but he's no Josh Allen. And the Bills stayed in that game, won that game because of Josh Allen. I think this is also one of those that Baltimore's going to try to send a message. They know exactly what Detroit's coming off of. They know that they've gotten out of the loss to the Bills, so this would be a nice signature win for them early in the season. So give me Lamar Jackson to run all over that defense and that defense to make a couple of big stops. But like you, I do think we could look up the Lions win this and you zagged the right way, but I sure hope not.
I just hope for a good game. The primetime games this year have been excellent so far.
Football.
Speaking of primetime, we're going to finish this thing off with just a couple of quick high school games. And I think in the weeks past, we've gone a little long on them. So I'm just going to rapid fire. These are our local teams around here who our clients care about. So let's just hit on them very briefly. We've got Rogers homecoming. Whitney's coming to town against Rogers. I know you know a little bit about Whitney. Tell me who to watch for in this Whitney.
Yeah, I think you watch for number 7. The Haynes kid used to wear black and gold. Number 7 back in the early 2000s is basically remade 2.0 in blue and white. So I love Rogers. I love Nash Ferris. I love JC Garcia. I love that community, what they're doing, but ain't no way. Ain't no way this week. Kobe Haynes coming to town. Coach Haynes leading the charge there in Whitney. I think Whitney rolls.
I will say Rogers has been rocking the last couple times we've been over there.
It's going to be a great atmosphere.
The atmosphere has been great. This young coaching staff has got the fans revitalized. We had a great time at the game Friday. We'll be there again for homecoming. I'm excited to watch them. I think Whitney has a lot of firepower. I would take the over. I think Rogers will be able to score from the scoring I've seen against Whitney. But will they have enough to finish them off? Not going to make a pick, but I called it last week. JC Garcia had some great defensive calls. I'm going to put it on Sydney this week, the offensive coordinator. Can he make enough calls to stay in this game against Whitney? We shall see. Take the over. Troy at Thrall this week. This is an interesting matchup we haven't seen many times. Troy had some injuries last week, so keep an eye on that. Lots of prayers up for Bryson Williams, who had a scary injury with his neck, and he's back and kind of starting to move around at practice a little bit. And we'll have to see game time decision, Cohen Ketchum. I've heard if it was a district game, he'd play, but he may sit out on this one. But I still think Troy has enough firepower to play with Thrall.
I don't know enough about Thrall. I'm going with Troy, even without Ketchum. Next one, we've got the Academy Bumblebees versus Salado Eagles. This is a local, somewhat of a rivalry here. I'm not making a pick. I got people on both sides. I think it's going to be a great game. Both teams need it. I think Academy probably needs it a little bit more to get in the win column because Whitney coming to town next week. So, but going to be a good game. Really looking forward to it. Who you got?
I am going to make a pick in this one because I feel so strongly that Slado's kind of in the right spot. They're very similar They did last year what Rogers is doing this year. Young coaches coming in, revitalizing a program. Head coach Rick Beatty has done a great job of getting the Salado program back to where it needs to be. Offensive coordinator Nick Zychek has the offense rolling after losing their quarterback in week 1. I saw it. They're going to move guys around, out formation you. And so I'm taking Salado in their new village uniforms, which they unveiled last
Yeah,
week,
really sweet.
to win. And I don't know if there's a spread, but I think they'd cover easily against this Little River team.
Sick uniforms for sure.
Your alum, McGregor,
Yeah.
goes to Gatesville. Tell me what you think about that one.
Yeah, man. I, I love McGregor. We love our intern Bubba. I'm going to be rooting for him hard, but Gatesville is a really good football team this year. McGregor's at 0-3 right now. Would be a great time to win. This would be a huge win for them as a program given the start. I have a hard time seeing it happen, so I'm going to take Gatesville. Sorry, but I think that yeah, they're just playing really good football, and McGregor's not quite there yet.
And I'm going to finish it off with a big matchup in our area, or at least we're seeing a lot of blue and white and red come out. The Temple Wildcats are at to a 3-0 start.
Great running back they have.
Yeah, and they get to travel to Austin and play Austin High, who's off to an 0-3 start. I just wanted to shout out Temple. They have had some thrilling victories this year, and they've got the program rolling. Chad President's doing a great job as head coach. And there's some cool names. A name to watch in that game, just because I remember coaching him back when he was in junior high. Ramon Brown is an outstanding receiver, an even better kid. Temple just keeps rolling out great athletes. So keep an eye on Ramon and the Temple Wildcats as they head to Austin this week to get their 4th victory. I'm calling it here.
All right. Well, with that will conclude week 4 and our 12 men and 40 acres. Thank you all who made it this far for joining. We hope it's entertaining. It's only going to continue to get more entertaining as we work towards the game matchup between the 12 men and the 40 acres. But until then, we'll see you next week for week 5.
God bless with the horns.
Get 'em, Mag.